Welcome to Protagonist Pub. My name is Tammy, and this is where characters gather. Happy June, y'all! It is the 3rd of June. It is a lovely, humid, air you can wear kind of morning here in Central Texas. So, I am filming this before I wander outside to spend some time with my chicken so I can figure out the bullying issue and, prevent one chicken from being, quite literally bullied to death by her sisters. So that is my exciting day. Hopefully yours does not involve chicken bullying. Dogs are quiet, birds eating breakfast. So let's talk about the books I read last week. It was a week. I am going to go from the worst book I read all week to the best book I read all week. And that is probably the only way I can talk about them, to be honest. So, the worst book I read all week was a 24 and 2024 pick from my darling husband. And I marked it as read on Storygraph last night, and I gave it the lowest possible rating on Storygraph, and that is a 1/4 star. That is Neuromancer by William Gibson. This is a sci-fi classic. This is the founding book for the subgenre of science fiction called cyberpunk, and I do not understand why. So this book was written in the early 1980s, I want to say 83, 84, and it is not... First copyright is 1984. It has not aged well. It is not written well. As I said more than one time this weekend to various people, this book reads like it was written by an alcoholic in a drug-induced state, and they took the twisted ramblings and forced said alcoholic ramblings into a quote-unquote novel that makes no sense. So, it is a very bleak world. And I don't say that lightly. It is a very bleak world. So, this is the novel that spawned the entire genre of cyberpunk, including the video game Cyberpunk 2077. I've played a little bit of Cyberpunk, like the intro and maybe an hour post-intro, but it's not my cup of tea, so I didn't play it. Dave, on the other hand, has played it, owns the expansion, has played a lot, and I'm usually on the sofa reading or stitching what he's playing. So, I get it by being in the room, in essence. I would not call Cyberpunk 2077, before reading this book, a world with hope, or a world I would want to live in, or a world where people were generally, not that bad off. But in comparison to this, Cyberpunk 2027 is filled with hope, filled with people who are well off, who have some semblance of control over their lives. It is very poorly written. I'm going to read you a little bit. Night City was like a deranged experiment in social Darwinism. designed by a bored researcher who kept one thumb permanently on the fast forward button. Stop hustling and you sank without a trace, but move a little too swiftly and you'd break the fragile surface tension of the black market. Either way, you were gone, with nothing left of you but some vague memory in the mind of a fixture like rats, though heart or lungs or kidneys might survive in the service of some stranger in New Yen for the clinical tanks. That is the best written passage in this entire book. It is a mixture of dialogues and ethnicities and nonsense words and words twisted into other words that you're supposed to try to figure out. And it is so just, it is a novel full of soulless, and I mean this, soulless persons. They are so modified from what you and I would consider human, that they are more cyborg than they are human. And at its heart, it's a heist story. Great, sure, because that hasn't been overdone in science fiction ever. And it's got outdated technology. It has technology in it that hasn't happened yet. It takes place in a multitude of locations on Earth. It takes place in space. You're supposed to figure out stuff from context. 3/4 of the time, I never figured out stuff from context. As I posted on Instagram, this book made me feel intellectually ignorant. I didn't say ignorant. I said incapable. Intellectually incapable. And I stand by that. This book I cannot recommend to anyone. Dave hasn't read it yet. I told him that if he reads it, and I honestly mean if he reads it, I will read the remaining books in the series. If he doesn't, I probably will not pick them up. It's just, if you want to dip your toe into science fiction, don't start here. Do not start here. I would say that Children of Dune, is that right? No, Dune Messiah is a better book than this. And when Dune Messiah opens, he has killed in excess of 600 billion people. And there's more hope in that book than there is in this. What does that tell you? And yes, I have some feelings. And no, it's not a popular opinion, but it's mine, and I will stand by it. Next up was a Goodreads win, and that is Not How I Pictured It by Robin Lefler. So it was published by Kensington, and I believe it came out this year. Let's see. Yep, came out this year. So this is a 2020. This was published in 2024. This is marketed as a rom-com. It is not a romantic comedy. I don't know why it got marketed like that, because it is not even remotely close. So the premise of this book is that in the early 2000s, there was a new adult, young adult, scripted reality series, and 20 odd years, later, post cancellation, the stars of the series are getting together for a reunion special, and they're going to film it in the Bahamas. And our female protagonist is Ness, and as the original series was wrapping up, her dad absconded with all the money she made as a child star, leaving her penniless with a mountain of debts. She spirals out of control. She alienates everybody. And she's gone to lick her wounds in Canada, where she has become a landlord. So everybody meets in Miami, and they fly to the Bahamas. And the cast and one team member from the production crew get on a boat to travel to the island. It's the middle of a hurricane warning. Oh, there's your first red flag. And they get lost. Ness ends up having to pilot the boat, and they wind up on this deserted island where there's a castle. Okay, so I've set up the book. It was utterly predictable. So you have your expected bad actors in the books. In the book, there's the divorced former, married couple from the series. There's the A-list actor. There's the I just got out of rehab actor. There's the is she or is she not a lesbian now, but she's getting steady work in Hollywood actor. There's the young ingenue who's been hired to play one of their daughter, Nessa's daughter to be precise. And then there's Ness, who was, by the end of the original series run, she was the bad girl. And she's disappeared from fame for the last 20 years. And while I read this book in one sitting, because eventually I had to know, it's just an uncomfortable, goofy, just immature adult read. These characters are now in their early 40s, so they're not that much younger than myself. And yet, apparently, none of them have matured much. There's a lot of finger pointing. There's a lot of he said, she said, let's all blame Ness. It's just a ridiculous story. And I did not expect it from Kensington, who is generally a much more reliable publisher. Instead, we have a mismarketed book. We have very poorly drawn characters. It is completely predictable. And unless you are a quote unquote reality series TV junkie, and just skip it. I read it so you didn't have to. My written review comes out tomorrow if you want to read that. I did some more detail on that. It is not a difficult read, but it is not a satisfying read. It's just a nonsense read that will not withstand the test of time. So, there's that. Okay, and the last book I read this week was, I finished Return of the King by Tokein, and this is the third book in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. And I was right before the end of the book. Like, I had, I think, 4 hours left on my audio. And that included appendices and other stuff. So it was much closer to the actual end of the story. When the entire series just suddenly snapped for me, and the character who made it all come together and finally caught my interest, and I don't know why she didn't catch my interest before this point in the story, but the character was Eowyn. She's agreeing to the marriage. And I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. Okay. Now I'm interested. I don't know why it took so long. So I did some digging, and I don't know why I didn't do this beforehand. There is an encyclopedia of characters for The Lord of the Rings. I will put the book right here. I need to purchase that book. I own the one for The Wheel of Time. Sanderson hasn't released one for Cosmere yet, or I would own that book and use it frequently. So when I get that one, I will sit down slowly in my own time. I may never talk about it again, or I may totally gush about it, which time will tell. And I will actually physically sit down and reread it and mark it up and figure out all the connection points. I do not know. Up until that point in the book, when it clicked, it was just a middle of the road read. There was nothing, wasn't invested. I really didn't care. Yay, Sam saves the day. We all know Sam saves the day. I don't know why Frodo gets all the credit, but Sam saves the day, and yeah, Eowyn saved the series for me. She really, really did. So, those are the 3 books I read this week. I did start my reread of Way of Kings. I've gotten through the first chapter, or the prologue in the first chapter. Taking my time, I'm tabbing it up. I already in that first chapter and the prologue too flagged things that I didn't know were important when I read it on my Kindle. This is one series I do not recommend reading on Kindle because you don't know what's important until you know what's important. I know what's important this time, and I'm flagging it so I can cross-reference it later. So, I did start Rocky Road by Becky White. Haven't gotten really far. I need to purge Neuromancer today when I write the blog up for it so I can get rid of that book hangover and that bleh feel. And then I can read Rocky Road. And Rocky Road won't take me, more than a hot minute. So if I spend most of the day outside with chickens trying to figure out what's going on with them, I can read while I'm outside with the chickens. That works. And then after that, what am I going to read? That is a good question. I need a physical book other than The Way of Kings. Probably going to start I Must Betray You. I say start. I said this on Discord, and I will say it here. Once I pick up that book, I will finish it in one sitting. It's under 300 pages. The chapters are very short. So, yeah, I will sit down and read that in one sitting. So, after that, I'm probably picking up Because I Could Not Stop for Death by Amanda Flower. This is the first book in her Emily Dickinson mystery series, and this is very high on my list. So, and my brain is like, ooh, mystery. Go read a mystery. Go read a mystery. Because I'm very much enjoying that. And then I'm going to pick up Summer on Honeysuckle Ridge. Again, this will be easy to take outside, watching chickens, especially since it's supposed to be 100-something plus today with very high humidity. So this may be outside instead of my Kindle. Time will tell. So, how was your reading week? Hopefully it was better than mine. Leave a comment down below, like and subscribe, and I will see you here next time at the Protagonist Pub.